Just down the way, about 7.5 miles from my house, where I'm sitting here in Indianapolis, Indiana, are some teams that are taking the court in the Big Ten tournament. It's basketball season. It's time for the March Madness. The women, the men, they're all getting on the court, and the teams are going, and we're going to see Michigan take the national championship. I'm just saying. But when we're playing a little basketball, we start talking about teams. And when we're talking about teams, we have to think, are you in or are you out? Are you to team or not to team? That is the question we're going to ask today on Office Hours as we bring you the best information when you're growing your payments business. And the man, the myth, the legend, and the lady, the superstar, I just started myself. I don't know what else did I say. This is all off the cuff because I just grabbed this basketball. Can you believe it? This basketball is from 1999. This made me feel really old when I looked at it. It is signed by the 1999 Indian Springs Lady Eagles, of which I was the head coach for my senior year of college for.
That's Columbia City, right?
That is just down the road. See, good job, Mike. Way to find that. I think I forget. Had 3 losses that year. We had a pretty good season. My memory serves me right. I am so old. I didn't
know this. That's awesome.
But this all usually sits in behind me, but I just grabbed it because it is basketball season. This ball is falling apart and has no air. But it is March Madness. Madness is March. That means basketball. That means awesome promotions, and it always means that we start off, before we go into our topics about to team or not to team, we need to make sure we're talking about March Madness. So I'm going to introduce Mike and Jenny through some questions about March Madness. Mike, how much extra bonus can our partners make on top of all their bonuses during the month of March?
Top of all the bonuses, $1,000.
There you go.
I've been watching a lot of Family Feud.
That was fantastic.
That is perfect. That was Mike Stetzel. I forgot to get the full name. And then Jenny Rickle over on the left-hand side of the screen. How much, what is the cap, and what is the total amount of upfront bonus with our current peak bonus campaign that goes through May 10th and our March Madness campaign that goes to the end of March and you have to activate by April 19th. Notice I'm putting all the information in there. What is the cap that they can make? How much money could they make on just one merchant?
On one merchant with our peak bonus and our edge, you can make up to $11,000 on one account. I mean, that's amazing. So
that is. And Jenny, I'm going to throw another hard one at you. In order to qualify for the March Madness, not the peak bonuses, but for the March Madness, it's the extra $1,000 that is uncapped. You can make $1,000 on 1,000 merchants. Please do.
Yep.
Put the stress on Billy West to make the paycheck. The question is, what type of merchants do those be? What are the parameters on those merchants?
They need to be Edge. So they need to be using our Edge program with at least 3.5% to the customer. And they need to be processing at least $10,000 a month. So that's it. $10,000 a month using our Edge program with at least 3.5%.
Perfect. And all you need to do is go over to myPayProTec.com/March. And you opt in. If you're not currently a partner with us, just email Nate@PayProTec.com, and I will get you connected to one of our wonderful teammates that will get you signed up and get you going. There is still time. It is not over yet. We've got plenty of time. It is March 13th. We got the Ides of March. We got St. Patrick's Day coming up. We'll talk about that later. Now, to team or not to team? I was trying to think, and we've never tracked it this way before, but what is your guess, as both Mike and Jenny, and we're not going to hold you to it if you're way off, because I'm not even going to go fact find it, of people that are individual agents with us versus those, we have thousands of agent offices with us. Some are individuals, some are 2 or more, some are as large as thousands. What would be your guess? How many individuals do we have percentage-wise versus those that have 2 or more? What would be your guess?
I wonder what Mike's guess is. I want to see what he says first.
I should have made you guys have a little board and guess, because we've never tracked it this way. It wouldn't, because and we're going to go the best of our system. We set you up all the same way, and then it can create a tree of sub agents under you is in an amazing way. And we'll talk about how easy and how flexible it is, but we don't actually measure that.
We're not talking about deal count, right? We're talking about here's just an agent ID. Yeah, how many people work that agent ID? I'd say it's 90% plus that are single people.
All right. What were you going to say, Jenny? What was your guess?
Yeah, I was going to say like 70% are single and 30% have teams, even 60-40. A lot. And when I say teams, like maybe it's just one or two people as well. But there's a lot of, to have a team and to have some support, it's definitely beneficial and just helps your business grow.
Yep. Well, and what I have learned is a light is, yeah, I don't know. Can you guys see a flicker? There's a light.
I saw it. Yeah.
Here. Yes. Okay. And I can't fix that now. It's live. I'll figure that out later. But there is a level of next stepness. And for some people, it's just, they just want to work. They got into this business because they don't have to report to anyone. They have to talk to us occasionally, but for the most part, they're a lone ranger. And that's who they want to be. And then there's people that are like, well, I just don't know how to build a team. And then there's those offices that come to us, like, call centers who have, hundreds, if not thousands of people that are making calls. And we have a variety of all this, and they have all these options. What would you say, how many times during the year do you guys work with people who are making the transition? They came in thinking they wanted to be a lone ranger and then saw the opportunity that if they add a few more people working on their team, that they are going to try to do that. How often, how does that change the number?
Gosh, I think we work with people that a few times a month even, that at least start that conversation. So, they're doing their training and they're like, wait, can I bring people under me? Can I get people to sell for me? And so we go down that road with them, and only a smaller percentage of those come to fruition, because I think when we may get to this, but there are a lot of benefits to having that team, but it's also more work. Some people say, I'm tired of working with other people. I don't want to have to supervise, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'll go out. I know I'm good at this. I'm going to make money. I'll be happy.
Jenny, because I think it's when you're working with someone who decides to take that step to say, hey, I've been selling, because when you make this decision, you're saying, I'm going to take myself out of the field and invest in other people is usually what that means.
Yeah.
Maybe you're joining, sometimes we see some of our partners join together and they join forces and they don't have to invest in each other. They're just like, creating symmetry and creating margin for the two of them based on what they are doing. But for the most part, you're taking a step to say, hey, I'm going to take a step back from the day-to-day sales and invest in other people. What are some of the issues that people are walking into when they do that, or not even issues, but things that you're walking in, the decisions they're going to have to make, or things that are affecting them when they make that decision to bring other people in?
I think that the first thing that they step into is training. Because are they working with somebody who's familiar with the industry, or are they working with somebody who's good in sales but might not know a whole lot about credit card processing? So that's where Mike and I can come and help, right? So we will absolutely help train anybody new to the team. You can actually specify, I only want them to know about this equipment or the specific pricing. We can definitely make it a very simplified training to keep it simple for somebody who's newer to the industry. But I would say when you do bring somebody on, make sure that you understand that they're going to have to learn all the secret handshakes and the rules of the game. And we can definitely help with that.
Yeah, it depends on whether you're working with people that have experience or don't have experience. And that somewhat decides how you want to build your business. At PayProTec, we've made the decision as PayProTec, we are only working with 1099 independent sales office, independent sales agents, independent people. You do not report to us. You do not have a non-compete with us. Sometimes we work together, and maybe we do programs together where we may ask for some exclusivity. That is always on the table. Usually that involves some type of investment or some type of opportunity where you're committing to certain numbers based on we're going to give that. But at the end of the day, you are not an employee. There are other people, and we say it this way, and actually come to NEA next week, come to booth number 16. We'll tell you exactly what we mean by this. We say the house always wins and you're the house. And that is our view of how we set up our business. A lot of our partners do it differently. They may do it W-2 and 1099 versions. And they may do, I'm going to put only W-2 or I'm going to put all 1099. Mike, when they're making that decision, what are the differences? Because we have a lot of offices set up both ways. When they're making a decision whether they're going to bring team members who are 1099 versus team members who are W-2, what are some of the things that are different for W-2 people to 1099, and what are some of the things that you've heard from our partners of why they made those decisions?
I think that a lot of partners will tell you that they're going to make more money as a 1099 salesperson. The way I've heard the compensation is structured, if somebody's getting a $30,000 a year salary, their bonus might be $150. they might have a nice split, but they're only going to receive those residuals for the first year. So there are what more aggressive salespeople who are really out to say, I'm going to make 100 or I'm going to make $200,000 of this, they would find as handicaps. So I'm not saying that's a problem. It is for that particular person who's out to maximize the income. If you're a person who wants to have some stability in your life and have some of that base and that comfort, and you're going to be okay making a good income that may not hit that $200,000 mark, great. Let's do it. So those are the two biggest things I think that come into play is that pay structure. Another thing that will come into play as a W-2 employee is health insurance quite often. And as everybody knows that's listening to this, that can be a humongous problem for a lot of 1099 salespeople unless you're married and your spouse happens to have good health insurance elsewhere. So those are one of the benefits you would get as a W-2 employee. So you have to weigh those things. Do I go become a 1099 and make so much money I can afford to buy my own health insurance? Okay. But those are the roads you have to go down. And we've discussed those with people, and we're always glad to dissect the options you might be looking at when you come to us and say, oh, but man, I've got this other offer over here where I can make this much, and this much with these stipulations. We're glad to help break that down for you and put pencil to paper.
So, and one of the things, you're making a decision on how you're going to set up your business and how people are going to see your business. And so a lot of times that's one of the first, if you decide to team and you're going to build a team, you have to decide how you're going to set up other people. And if they're just going to be set up as 1099s or W-2s, and we have both, and the things are true on both. If you set them up as 1099s, you're going to give them more compensation up front, but you're going to not give them anything else, or not up front. More compensation based on actually success, but no upfront usually. And so the risk is low versus bringing someone on W-2. Sometimes we use the word draw, but you're putting them on some type of salary, some type of structure that's going to ask them for certain things, but you're not going to give them lifetime residuals, maybe, or maybe you're going to give them lifetime residuals, but it's going to be a smaller split, or maybe you're only going to offer them part of the bonus. Here's what I say: you just have to make that decision, and when you make that decision, it doesn't mean you have to do it forever. You can do it multiple ways, but you have to choose: am I going to put someone as a 1099, just like you're working with PayProTec and maybe several other of our competitors? Or am I going to choose to put them W-2? If you're choosing W-2, and we're not going to go into all this, you're choosing a much more upfront complication also that you need to do. I will say this: those who choose W-2 and do it successfully probably have a bigger portfolio draw 10 years down the road than they do if they choose 1099, because they're going to invest up front, but they're going to take more of the residual if you're creating a portfolio that is growing and going up and to the right, which is our goal. That hockey stick that goes up and to the right, that is what we're always looking for together. And you have to make those decisions. Now, when it comes to working with our team here at PayProTec, Jenny, we can set partners up in multiple ways. So when they come and say, I want to set up a sub partner, what are some of the first questions you ask our partners of how they want to be set up?
Well, that's literally, Nate, what I say. How do you want to be set up? We can pay them directly based upon what you tell us and the percentage, right? And you tell us exactly how you want it to be set up. And then they'll have an agreement with PayProTec. So they submit all their information to us, their driver's license, their voided checks. So we actually will pay them directly from PayProTec. So that's one way. Or you can pay them, right? And that goes into the other scenario that we've been talking about. So you can just tell us their information. We need their first name, last name, email address. We'll give them access to their own account and payments hub, so they can't see everybody's. They can just see their own. They're able to submit applications and things like that. And then you'll be able to see the profitability with the merchants and pay them as your agreement with them.
Yeah. And I think you can break this up. Like a lot of times you say, okay, well, can I only give, if I want to give them 30% residual, and we can break them up multiple different ways and break up that residual. And you can have partners who have partners who have partners. Mike, how often do you see that when we're several and everybody's taking a little bit of the residual, but they're all working together? And a lot of times and then I'm going to ask another question, kind of describe, a lot of times we offer what's called an override if they bring a partner to us, because maybe you bring a partner to them, you're not going to work directly with them, but you brought them to us. That's another thing that we can do. Can you describe being able to split the residual as many ways as we can, and then what is an override?
I think Danny's told me we can split it up to, I don't know, 10 ways, 9 ways, 12 ways, something like that. I think I've seen three at the most, where there's that override, maybe of an override. So I refer Jenny. Jenny brings somebody aboard, so she gets an override. I get an override. So on and on down the line. Or like you said, that I've hired a partner. I'm giving them some of the company's residuals. They bring somebody aboard, and he's going to share his residuals with them. And I use the term override, and that just means you are getting a piece of their residuals. So in the case of a referral, you say, "Hey, Mike, I've got a buddy. Why don't you guys talk, see if you want to bring them aboard? And if we do, typically we offer a 5% override to that referring agent on that person's residuals. And that comes out of our part, not your buddy's part that you referred to us. And it's just a little thank you. And their success obviously generates more success for you as well.
Well, and the reason to do this when we start bringing together multiple levels of partnerships is that you're incentivizing them to win, but you're also rewarding yourself for getting a little piece. And that's the same thing we're always trying to do. How can we incentivize you? How can we give you a little extra reward? And you can build this multiple ways, and it really is as customizable as your brain can think of it. But the first thing to do is figure out what's going to feel most natural to you. If you're a natural coach and that's what you want to do, and you're going to wake up every morning and you're going to call 7 people that you've brought onto your team and ask them what they're doing, that's your natural thing, then maybe putting them on either lower, bringing them on as a full team as W-2, maybe somewhere where you go, where you build them, and you may even have where they can vest over a period of time. And if they get to certain levels, we can work with you because we can change their percentages over time. What they start with doesn't mean what they have to end with. And if that's the type of thing you're going to invest, then you're probably going to see a little bit of drop in your own sales when it starts out, but you're going to see that multiplied fairly quickly because you're investing them. What I see a lot of times is people get to a point, they go, man, I can't sell anymore myself, so I need to bring other people on. So they can't sell, so they stop, maybe either they stop selling or they lessen their selling, and then they're not great at investing in people and using some of the tools like Jenny talked about, let's jump into training right away, and they bring on people that, they were selling 10 a month, and they bring on 4 more people, and each one of them are selling 2 a month, and they gave up selling altogether, or maybe they're only selling, and suddenly they go to 8 a month, but they have 4 people and lots of stuff, and they're not going to see that same rocket up and to the right growth, and that is what we want to see, up and to the right. Jenny, when we see this a lot of times, I think one of the struggles is that they don't lean on us enough. I really believe that. And it's not my arrogance, it's my confidence in you and Mike and all of our relationship managers and our team that we can come alongside of them and strategically train the team. We're not going to do one-on-ones with all 50 people that you met in the mall yesterday. Not going to do that. But we will strategically put a plan together. And Jenny, what are some of the unique ways I think that you've worked, and Mike has too, being able to do unique trainings as they bring teams on, whether W-2 or 1099, and help them get launched that lessens the burden on that original partner?
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity there. There's an office where they actually have a team of sales partners who they specifically sell a very specified piece of equipment and hardware. So he asked if we can just do training only on that, right? Let's just take a look at this equipment. Let's take a look at the hardware and not talk about anything else. And there was about 10 people on the call, and it totally worked out. And then there's the new people, the brand new people that come into the business. I've had a few of those where there's like 3 or 4 people on the call, and we start, okay, this is going to be the cost of a credit card. This is a credit card machine. And then we can go into those details. So what's really fantastic about this is that we're here to help and that we'll customize it. We'll make sure that we go over the content that you specifically want your team to know about, and we'll leave out the rest that doesn't pertain to anything that you're going to be utilizing with that team.
Mike, anything to add to that? As you've worked with lots of our offices who you're doing group training.
No, that's great. The one thing that we assure people is that we will never discuss, compensation that we typically offer, because they work for XYZ processing company, and Bob is your boss, and he's the one that pays you. So we don't even make mention of that. Like Jenny said, you find out from the operator what they want you to do, and that's what you do. For our white labeled partners, we can use some of the customized sheets to do the training that maybe have that branded partners brand on instead of PayProTec. So we can really help and try and keep this as helpful as possible.
So the last thing I want to talk, and this is not an exhaustive talk, other than our really call to action is, please talk to us. We're going to here to help you actually strategize and succeed at building your team and going from one to many. But one of the things this is the biggest hurdle I see that people when they start building their teams is they have the mindset that I don't want them to. So I don't want my sub partners to know anything else about this industry. And so we don't talk to them about any of our compensation. We don't give them, we kind of try to silo them in. And for some partners, it works for a while. I've never seen anyone who has very successful sub partners work for a long time trying to do that. And there's a reason for that. I just searched because I wanted to see, I typed in merchant services compensation. I can watch over 6,200 videos that were put in just in the last year on YouTube. I can go and search on Google. I'm going to get tens of thousands, if not pushing to 100,000 of you can't, if we're live streaming this, anybody can watch it. Everybody's going to know how the systems work. They're going to understand the Facebook groups. You can't hide from it. You need to lean into it and engage it and show with transparency and realize that as people become successful, it's true in our industry or anywhere else. They need to be compensated most likely more, and you need, but strategically doing it with that more compensation means more total success and more growth and more portfolio, which will continue your growth. You're not giving away your money. You're investing your money. And I think that's one of the things you have to think through. And also realize that how you bring in a partner who has no success versus those who have no experience versus those who have experience, you're going to have to change things. And as they grow and get better, you're going to have to change things. And Mike and Jenny, I've seen this a lot. I think a lot of times our partners are like, man, we don't want to know. And then suddenly we're getting a recruiting call because they went and Googled and they found PayProTec Direct, and suddenly they're wanting to come direct with us. Yeah. And we're like, well, we'll give you an override, which I want to remind that an override means that we're going to give you a little piece on top of what their compensation. We're not taking away from their compensation. We're going to give you a little, typically we do there's differences, if they are asking for there's a negotiation goes on. I don't want to get an exact number, but it's in the single digits usually of a percent that you're getting of our side of the business, not their. So it's not, they get their cut and then we're going to give you a little bit of override. But I mean, this is a real thing that I think when we're building a team, you have to make a choice. And there's some partners I've had this conversation. I'm not going to convince them. But I do believe when you invest in people, they will invest in themselves, they will succeed, and all things can grow. What are some of your experiences watching that? Because I know both of you have talked to partners who are actually sub-partners of one of our partners, and we have to call our partners and say, hey, you've had Sue selling for you three times a month. She just figured out that she wants to go by herself. And what are some of your experiences or some of your suggestions and advice in those situations? Mike, Jenny?
I mean, everything that you just said, Nate, I want to echo it. Like, invest in the people to invest in your business. The more, they're not going to start looking around and seeing what's out there if they're happy and satisfied. If you support them, if you take care of them, if you provide them the tools and the knowledge, that's where you're going to strive. As well as this industry is always changing, right? So it's nice to keep it simple as they start, right? Equipment and pricing. This is the equipment. This is how you're going to price them. But also, there's so much to expand upon from there. So let them, right? Let them go out to larger systems and maybe try a POS system with a restaurant. Perhaps have them getting into some website accounts with authorized.net and integration. Like, there's some other opportunities out there. And the more that they're successful, the more that you'll be successful. Like, make it a win-win situation and everybody will be happy.
Love it. And that's what we always are trying to do. We're trying to make it that everyone is succeeding, that we're all working together, and that when the water is rising, we're all floating higher. We're going our boats, that's what we're going to put together. I like that. So, all right, as we close out today, any final tips, success stories, things that we haven't talked about? They're like, man, I've loved watching this be successful when people are adding team members to their company, to their merchant services business.
Sure. I think a lot of people sit back. Sorry, Jenny, if I cut you off. They sit back and think, oh man, I want to bring a team aboard because I'm going to get half their residuals. And so, we have this conversation. They come to me and they'll say, well, I want to bring these people aboard. I'm going to make so much money type conversation. And I ask them, kind of like you brought up, Nate, that this information's everywhere. In order for you to take half of their residuals or keep half of the residuals, what is it you're offering that a billion other companies don't already offer and give them the full share? Because if you bring a seasoned salesperson to your team who knows how to close deals, they're going to become pretty antsy pretty quickly. They're going to know what's happening. So I think you have to think about, what is it you're prepared to offer your team? What is the benefit for being on your team? Do you provide a collaborative office space for them to go to? Do you provide an administrative person, and all they need to do is submit a list of information for a merchant, and that person puts the application in? What is it you provide that might make you a little different than hundreds of other ISOs out there? So that's one thing I think I would ask everybody to think about before you decide that you should have half.
All right. So, and the last thing, just a reminder, and Jenny, I'm going to give you the closing word. So just getting you that prep earlier, but work with our team. We're here to help you do this. We work with, every week we're setting up multiple, I see the list every time. This sub-agent, sub-rep, tracking ID, all these new people that are coming in, they're just working on, and we see it and we're doing it daily, and we want to help you do it well. And you may not even get it right the first time. One of the things I want to encourage you with, if you find you work with a couple sub partners and they don't go well, I've seen multiple people, their first couple people they work with or they bring on as staff and maybe they're 1099s, they don't succeed. But eventually, if you keep doing it, you can work. If your goal is to grow exponentially, you're going to have to work with a team, because eventually you only have 24 hours in a day in your life, and you can only work a certain amount of that, different depending on you and but eventually you have a finite amount of growth. You just do. But eventually we can go infinite when you start building with teams. That is the next step. But you also have to make some of those decisions, because that's your own decision, your lifestyle decisions and all that. All right, Jenny, you ready? Let's see. I'm going to bring a little music, because I don't even know what music I'm playing, but a little music behind. Jenny Rickle is going to give us our final word here on Office Hours today. Jenny, what do you got?
I got a lot of good stuff is coming up, you guys. So just if you're going to be around in the area, check us out and sign up for NEAA. We will be there. We have a booth. We also got the first day of spring coming up next week. So change of season. Go ahead and get out there, you guys, especially if you want to bring some team members on. It's a great time to come check us out at the booth and check out the whole show. Hope to see you there. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Talk to you later.
Love it. On behalf of Jenny Rickle, Mike Stetzel, I'm Nate Manahan. This has been another Office Hours, and we're saying, to team or not to team, no matter what, we've got your back. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
See ya.